anything musical, number one. I thought the idea of taking this old narrative of somebody and this older song and having us transform it in a different way, along with a transformation of past trauma, of trying something new, of getting into therapy for the first time. I mean, I think that there is so much stigma still around therapy. She and I, Alex and I, have talked about that a lot. I think historically it has not been a welcome place for the Black community. We both saw this as an opportunity to open that discussion and to also see Petey in a different light, see him do something completely different, and he was really down to take his art and go on a ride with us. So, you know, it was very exciting for me to work with both of them and to collaborate on it.
Absolutely awesome. So here's a question that I'm really interested in, particularly anytime we get an opportunity to talk to women who are behind the camera and commanding, you know, large crews, budgets and stuff. What was your most challenging part of making this thing? Like, what's your horror story that you had to overcome? Obviously, you overcame it because, my God, what you guys created, beautiful. So,
well, this one's a lot easier than my first one, but the challenge is always obviously money, and I think my biggest challenge is the anxiety beforehand in terms of like, will people show up? Because, you know, obviously if one person doesn't show up, then you're like completely screwed, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's a very delicate, like, you only have 3 to 4 days to do this, and that's that. So it's the anxiety leading up to it. But I think what I learned from my first film was to definitely like the people you work with, like everyone. So for my first film, the biggest challenge was probably, besides money, was like kind of like the egos of some of the cast. Ooh. So, well, maybe like 1 or 2 people, but this time, like, I met everybody in person before I cast them, the main cast, and they were like wonderful to work with. So
I was so shocked. You have one of my favorite people in the world in the film, and that's Lee. She's one of my favorite people in the world. I met her through COVID. She had came up with, she submitted to the festival. She's alumni, actually, and she had these amazing videos. And that year we were in COVID, she was just a joy. She won Best Music Video. I mean, you guys, she made the right choice in picking her as the lead for that. That woman is phenomenally talented. I wish she was here. You are here? See how I didn't even know you were here. You see how you know what I'm saying? Like, I love her. I need to pull out that 2019 archive and remind people who you are. You are. You are. You understand what I'm saying to you? I was so happy to see you. I really was.
it was a perfect choice.
Woo. Okay. Sorry about that.
I had a lot of obstacles. Did I mention I was a new mother at the time?
Yes.
And a public school teacher. And so I had a lot of locations, a lot of people that called for a lot of money. I did crowdfunding, which we all know who have experienced that is tough. I was fortunate enough to receive a couple of grants. So that was nice. It made it a little easier. I specifically wanted to fill my crew with as many women and people of color as I could. And I did have majority of that on my team, but that was difficult. I'm from Louisiana. We filmed this in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is not New Orleans. And so it's hard to find talented folks who are diverse in that part of the world. So we had to fly some people in, and you know, it just got expensive. But we were able to do it. We shot it in 4 days, which was it seems like a lot of time, but we knew we just one more day. We need a few more hours, you know, just to get everything that we needed. And I still didn't get everything that I needed, but I think we were able to create something that was pretty good. And I said, why didn't anyone tell me post-production was horrible? You know,
Yeah.
and it is it's a lot of work from beginning, middle to end. But I don't know if I had any like major horror stories. Again, being a public school teacher, I used all of my resources. So the band that was in the scene was from a local high school, one of the schools I work at, and they joined the cast. There were like maybe 50 kids who signed up, and we filmed this over spring break, so maybe only 10 showed up. And then we had to like, where's your sisters and brothers? Where's your friends? You know, just bring them to set. We have the uniforms, we have the instruments. We just need young-looking people. I can't have these grown men, you know, jump in, full beards, you know. But so there were many, many little fires. But yeah, it was a learning experience. This is my first film, so yeah, I'm sure it gets. Thank you. I'm sure it gets better over
That's
time.
beautiful, beautiful for a first film. The cinematography, the lighting, like just, you nailed it. But I'm not surprised because you were brought to my attention by Mr. Bristol. And he's dope. He is a winner of our festival, alumni. So if he brings someone to my attention, I'm definitely looking more, and I'm even more skeptical because it's brought to me in that fashion. And I couldn't find anything wrong with it. I sat there and I think I watched it twice once it came through the jury. I watched it twice because it was just a joy to watch. That last scene, the shots, the attitudes, every person in your film was identifiable. Every person, especially, of course, the coach. You know, we all have her in us, and we've all been coached by her. But I was impressed. Good point out, Mr. Bristol.
And she did all of the choreography herself and her sister. I'll give a shout out
Really?
too. So yes, it was a collaborative effort all around.
Okay. I'm going to ask you directly, how long did it take you to learn how to do the fire batons?
I started twirling fire batons when we were like 10. I think I was 10 when my coach first started having us practice fire batons. I was absolutely terrified out of my mind. So to pretend how to be terrified again, because I did that, I twirled fire baton for high school football games, and I twirled fire baton while I was in college as
Right.
a twirler. So it was kind of fun, like scaring everybody, like I was doing all these crazy tricks with my fire batons, but I enjoyed it.
How old are you now?
I'm 23. I just turned 23.
Jeez, so you've been twirling them fires around. Girl, I wouldn't even attempt. I have a good relationship with fire. We don't need to cross any lines. Bless your heart, honey. Bless you, bless you. All right, so
Challenges.
challenging
yes.
nightmare stories, horror stories.
You know, we shot this in, gosh, I want to say that we were still sort of in the ends of, you know, we'd all been vaccinated, but there was pandemic-y things happening, so that was always challenging. The biggest challenge, I think, creatively was making that stage look like something. And we talked about it a lot because we had a budget, but we talked about what can we bring in, what can we do. We want to make it look like we're in space. We're in space and time. We're in someone's inner psyche. So trying to figure out what that was on a budget. Because we got a nice, beautiful big stage. We shot this in Los Angeles. And so we brought in that star drop, and that star drop helped a lot. And then I had the idea, like, what if we get a fog machine and put it behind that very backdrop so we can make it look like something with a long lens and walk with him. Like that was, you know, coming up with those ideas I think was really helpful in the storytelling. All of the different shots we used in that dance sequence became very helpful as well. But that was one whole day, and it was a lot of shots. So getting all of that, because we only had the theater, I think, like until 5 or something, and then it was like, we're out, you're done, thank you, you've paid, goodbye. So making sure we had all of that was a challenging day. The other day was all in the therapy office, and that was like a half day. And it was on the weekend, and then people were doing construction next door, and then we had to turn the air off in between, and it was summer. And you know, I'm like, we all have been there, I'm sure, and people are sweating. So those are always like the little challenges. And then I think the other question mark really was, I had never met Petey until he came to LA to record with Alex. And then we did some rehearsals, and I just thought, this guy seems really cool. He seems like he's down. Is he an actor? Am I gonna, like, what is gonna be the process here, you know? And he was so great. He was so cool. He was so open with me. He was so generous of his time. He was like off book. I gave him notes. We worked on the choreography. He was just so down. And that is such a huge gift as a director. You can help and you can mold and you can get in there, but he was just so down to play, and like it was awesome because we didn't have a lot of time to get to that point.
And you don't see many black men doing film, particularly doing film, a narrative about mental health and getting therapy, let alone putting themselves in it, and let alone talking about their past and coming to grips with it so that we can share that journey. What a gift that
What a
was to
gift.
watch.
And also, like, the humor that came out of, you know, just like revisiting that song. He has such a good self-awareness that he knew that he could, I think, he could make this, be a part of this journey. It could be humorous, it could be poignant, it could be, he could use himself as a vessel to tell that story, and it was a real gift to both of us.
Yeah.
And then, you know, lastly, I'll just say that anytime you do anything in life, like, you have this creative inspiration, you raise the money, you write the film, you get there, you know, you shoot it, and then it lives in this computer for like a long time. So until you get enough money to do the sound and do the edit, and then after all of that, you have to figure out how to get it out there. And it's like the next thing. And you're like, but I'm exhausted. But we've been talking a lot about this the last few days, and I think what's so important about events like this, and we're so honored to be here, because we owe it to the art. We owe it to the project. We owe it to see it through, and we owe it to give it away at the end of the day. So thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So one last question for the three of you before we take it to the audience for some questions. So audience members, if you have a question, you have 2 mics at the back of the room. You can just walk up to it, grab one, and you can ask your question. I've been asking all of our filmmakers this question, and it's been kind of a conversation throughout the festival. How do you feel about the strike, the writers and stuff like that? Does it stop your bag as an independent filmmaker? And, you know, doesn't have to be a long answer, just in general. Don't be scared.
I'll go first.
Safe space. Safe
Just like a
space.
buffet line, I have no issues being first. I'm a teacher, so I'm always struggling with the bag. But I support the writers. I support the actors. I think when you have this idea that, oh, the film industry is glamorous and you're always working and making a lot of money and all of that stuff. But on the independent level, you know, we spend a lot of money and time than we actually ever get back. And so you hope that when you get to the level where you don't have to be a teacher as your day job and you can constantly work in this craft, that you are able to make a bag, but it seems like they're not getting any bags to be made. So, and this is all new information to me because I'm not in the industry every day. So, you know, I understand what's happening. The more I hear about like the insurance policies and the residual checks are like pennies, and it's pretty ridiculous. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, teaching these children that I'm teaching, and educating them about this industry that they want to maybe be in to make a living, and how to produce for yourself and create for yourself, because there's not always going to be other people giving you opportunities. So you have to learn how to make them for yourselves. And what do you do when you're on a strike? Like, what can you be doing? You can be creating, you can be collaborating and planning. So when the strike is over, you can start running with everything. So
That part.
I think it can be a really, like you said, to piggyback onto that, I think it can be a really exciting time for independent filmmakers, you know, because there's enough for us to be able to do under a certain budget. But I've been a member of 2 of the unions that have been in those conversations. I started working in the industry when I was 8 years old. I don't know any other life. I've had insurance, I haven't had insurance, I've made money doing a million other things, and it has been a hustle my whole life. And without my union protecting me, there's no way I would have had certain things when I was pregnant. I thank God I had a union protecting me with a health insurance so I could have a baby. But there were certain other parts, you know, where we're watching the model change, and it's definitely changed a lot in the last 10 years, and it's not the same as it was, and people are not being as protected as they once were monetarily. And I think it's not just us, it's not just the entertainment sector, it's going to become all sectors of labor.
Yeah.
And I think we are in a labor movement, and I think this is just like the music industry told us when Napster and all of that happened, and Spotify, and they said, watch out, they're coming for you next. I could say probably to a lot of other labor unions, watch out, they're coming for you next. So make sure that, like, you take a cue, because we cannot be taken over by a robot. And I think that's like one of the real scary parts of this. And I think I think this is our time. I think we gotta stand up for it, so.
I was telling someone yeah, please, yes. You know, this is a time for revolution. I am a Harriet Tubman type person. I'm militant, kick down the door, revolution time. I'm waiting for it, honey. And I think that this is the time. This is the rise of the independents. That's a movie. That's a movie, like Rise of the Siths. But, you know, the independents. I mean, because if we're talking about ownership and creating economy and access and opportunity and jobs for others, you have to be able to own your product to be able to employ others. You guys have employed small towns with these short films, right? Everybody got paid. You didn't ask nobody for nothing, no Hollywood studio, no, you know what I'm saying? You did it from what we call the mud. Got it from the mud. And you fed people. And there is power in that. So if there's a way that we can sustain our brothers and sisters in SAG and WGA without interfering with them fighting for their rights, I think we need to do that as much as possible, while still speaking truth to power of ownership of our content and our distribution hubs. Super important. The revolution will not be televised. That could not be more true than right now. Now, I'm gonna ask you, because I know you went like this when I asked, you said, Do you wanna answer, or we can move on? Well put. I think you make a good politician. Do we have any questions for these amazing and beautiful and talented ladies? Please. Grab a microphone.
Once again, my name is Mark McPhee, and I would like to thank you ladies for dwelling into the issue of mental illness, which is usually not covered in the Black community. Terry Williams did an article, or a book, I should say, Black Pain, It Only Looks Like We're Not Hurting. And in the past few years, the suicide rate in the Black community has steadily increased. And so I thank you for your movie on this issue. And while I'm standing here, I had to say thank you to Sister Capers, because I walk in here and standing behind me is Miss Deborah Archie. We did something revolutionary more than 30 years ago. As honor students in the Lehman College Black Studies Department, we did a documentary on the African burial grounds. We did it with the second ABC producer, only second to Gil Noble at ABC Television. And the name of the movie and the name of the documentary was Then I'll Be Free to Travel Home. And the narration was done by the late, great Lena Horne. So this is my first time setting eyes on Deborah Archie in 30 years. And so I am grateful that God led my footsteps back here today. And I also see another brother that I invited, Mr. Charles Massey, who is a great actor. And he is in another film called When, and it speaks about gun violence in the Black community. So Sha Boogie, you are continuing to give opportunities to filmmakers and bringing people together, and I applaud you. Ashe, my sister.
Every friggin' day at this festival, either it's the films or somebody says something, y'all be trying to make me cry. Y'all just want to make me be a punk constantly. Do we have any more comments, questions?
Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for your art. This question is for all the directors on the stage. I would like to know your guys' philosophy on your directing and how you implemented it throughout your filming on your sets.
Good one.
I'm not a strong director. I'm definitely more of a writer than a director. So my philosophy is hire the right actors, like really focus in on the actors, because that can really buffer your film or really weaken your film. So that's where I spend a lot of my time in pre-production, looking at a lot of reels, talking to the actors pre-production. So that's where I focus. I'm trying to get better as a director, but it's a long learning curve. So that's where I focus in on, and obviously collaborating with the right people behind the scenes, your cinematographer, your other producers, like, basically your tribe.
I'm also new as a director, but I think mostly I want to tell nuanced stories, Black stories, Southern stories, female-led stories that are rewatchable and quotable. I think about a lot of the movies that I love to rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, and I'm very much a use movie quotes in everyday life person. And so I love when someone finds something that they think is a funny line that they want to say or something. So I would love to just do that and have people make rewatchable, quotable movies that highlight the Black experience.
I think my sweet spot is heartfelt comedy. I love when there are these humorous moments, and then underneath there's something that tugs at us, and there's something that's revealed. I have been an actor, and I have been a choreographer. So in my transition to directing, I look at everything I look at the picture as choreography. I don't ever give actors tell them when I'm telling them where I think they should go. I don't call everything choreography. So there's a part of me that always sees stuff visually like that. And then on the acting side, because I was an actor for so long, I understand the process of it. I understand, I think, how to speak to actors what kind of performance I'm really trying to get out of them, what kind of vibe I want to create, because that's a really big part of how we all walk on set, and the joy that we find and the vulnerability. And when all the other stuff gets crazy, you know, it can become too much for actors. So I try to keep a really like good vibe on set. And then I think what I've learned as a director over the last 5 or so years that I've been directing, I do a lot of television, and it's really fast. So as a director, I think, especially doing, you know, this film and others, the short time span is I work really well in very short time spans. So I think that's been a really good training ground for me in terms of like small budgets and, you know, small windows of time to get the shot.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Vinnie Bagwell, public artist, sculptor. I'm doing Victory for Fifth Avenue at 103 this year. Hopefully we'll get it done in the next 2 years or so. I, too, am a storyteller, and so I applaud you. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Schomburg. I love you guys. Every time I come here, it's always extraordinary. And it's delightful to see you. You guys are storytellers, too. I enjoyed each one of the films, and I realized that you guys are relatively new to filmmaking, but I'm almost sure that you guys got a lot of stories to tell. So I'm curious to know, now that you got this one in the can, are you working on the next story? Have you got ideas? Are you started? Are you gonna take a break? You know, what's next? That's what I wanna know.
Always writing, especially with the writer's strike. So I have 2 other feature films I'm trying to finance and trying to raise financing for. One is a satire about a rap beef between 2
I like it already.
New York City women rappers.
I love it. Shenanigans.
Yes,
See it.
shenanigans.
I see it.
Yes, which is inspired a lot by the Hollywood Shuffle, which somebody mentioned yesterday. Yeah,
My favorite
And you
movie of all
mentioned-
time.
yeah,
Oh,
it's definitely
yes,
inspired
number
by
1
that.
movie.
So if you know Robert Townsend, you know,
We'll
send my
talk.
script. Okay.
We'll talk.
So that's it.
I actually am in post-production for another short film that I did earlier this year, and I do need a break. I think someone mentioned needing a break. So after that, I'll be taking a break possibly. But I'm always inspired. I think of a movie idea probably every day. And it's just about, okay, which one do I focus on or try to write next? I have a couple of feature films that I've written. I'm working on the feature film. I should have been done already. Stefan's probably glaring at me. But the Rising Dawn is a proof of concept for a feature film. So I am working on that feature film script to hopefully produce that at some point soon.
And you have no better mentor than Stefan with, you know, how he did his proof of concept. He won this whole festival with his proof of concept and went on to make it into a feature, landed on Netflix, and so on and so on and so forth. Yes, I'm calling out your entire thing because I am proud of you and I love you and I think you're dope as hell. So, yes.
Always got a million little irons in the fire. Rewriting a comedy that we hope to get financing for a feature next year. I'm co-directing a musical because we can still do theater back in LA. It's a 70s retelling of the classic Cinderella, and it's an all-family show about a girl who finds her voice, and we talk a lot about the importance of art and the sacred nurturing of art in school and in society and why it's important. And I think that's so important for young people to hear, especially kids who have never been to a theater before. So we do a lot of work with local communities, bringing children in to see this show, and that's like one of my favorite parts about it. And then Alex and I have been talking a little bit about just, you know, recently about, it's so interesting you have this, this exhibit here about incarcerated artists and art that happens behind bars, art that is used as therapy. And I think there's something really powerful there about shedding a light on that in a documentary style. So maybe some more talks about that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to get to know both of you more. This is our first time meeting and having you in the festival as all three of you. Well, no, not all three of you. But I can't wait to see what the future holds. Tonight, talking about financing, if you guys are available, over at the Film House, we're bringing in funders and agencies, and we're going to talk about the future of representation, the AI generation, and what that means for you guys on the money front. But people will be there that can assist. So
I will be there.
you better be. I will drag y'all there. So guys, please, an amazing and wonderful round of applause. Okay, so folks, remain seated. Our next feature is about to begin. have our filmmaker to the stage. Please give him a round of applause. We're gonna have us a little conversation. Y'all have to give him a round of applause. You have to. Give me a standing ovation. I have so many questions, and but first let's just start with this. Introduce yourself to everyone. Tell them who you are, a little bit of your background, and then we can get into it.
Okay, my name is Tyrell Hunt. I'm the writer, editor, and director of The Sound of Southside. This is my second film. It's based on a novel that I wrote of the same name, The Sound of Southside, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Go back. Writer, director, editor, producer, novelist. I gotta give it up. Is this your first film?
This is my
The
second
second.
one. I had another one called April Again that came out in 2019.
And this is the first time you're with us here at the Hip Hop Film Festival.
Yes.
I am almost speechless at this film. It reminds me of what I wanted Mo Better Blues to be. The concepts, but okay, just love. A love story in its purest essence. Why this story and why now?
Well, thank you for the words about the film. And as far as why this story, when I was working on the music for my first film, April Again, we were working on composing the music. I was hanging around a lot of jazz musicians, and I ended up getting really inspired from jazz music. And also, living where I live in Queens, there's a rich jazz history there that I wanted to highlight. So eventually, a couple years ago, I started working where I work now at a place called Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning, and I'm constantly working with jazz musicians, and I'm also in the center of the community, and I see all these things like gentrification, all the other themes that you saw in the movie. So this film was my attempt to kind of blend all of that together in one offering.
And blended you did. You know my favorite part, my favorite scene, because I'm a goofball.
Yeah.
So my favorite scene was when when Arthur slapped the bartender.
Yeah.
Yo, when I tell you, I rewinded that part in my office like 5 times and was hollering
Yeah.
because of just the way it was filmed. It was so perfect. And Arthur, who played the corrupt guy, he was actually in one of my films from way back.
Yeah.
I love him. Where is he? Why isn't he here today?
I wish he could have made it, but
Do you
I'm
have
not sure
any
where
of your
he's at.
cast with you?
No.
What?
I think it's because like the time period, most of them are at work and stuff like that. But they're all very excited about this, and Arthur is great. I just love working with him. He was also in my other film, April Again, and he's amazing to work with. He elevates the project for sure.
My other favorite parts were the love progression
Yep.
between the 2 main characters, from sitting on the couch separate, and then slowly they got closer. Then you see her braiding his hair. The simplicity of love that you captured so elegantly. I have to commend. I have nothing but platitudes for you because I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
So impressed. Let's talk about challenges. Give us one horror story from production that you had to overcome and how you did it.
I would say one of the horror stories is like actors dropping out at the last minute.
Ooh.
So I was constantly rewriting my script to accommodate for different changes within the script. So the film that you see was probably like the 8th version of it, because like I would have like a trumpet player cast and he would drop out and I would recast, and so I just constantly had to keep pivoting, and that goes for not only the cast but also like the locations and everything. Like one situation that you might think is to be on that day, you have to pivot. So I was constantly pivoting, and yeah, I'm happy that we were able to get something out of it.
Your cast was actually amazing. Where did you find that young prodigy? Where did you find him?
The lead actor,
Yes. What's his name?
his name is James.
James. Where did you find James?
Yeah, so James was actually, we did like a big casting call. He was the hardest person to find because I wanted to find actors who actually played the instruments because I didn't have the budget to like hire someone to teach the actors and stuff like that. So I wanted that authenticity. So James, he sent in a self-tape and he was able to both play the saxophone and act. So I was really happy about that. And his co-star is actually my wife.
What?
Yeah.
You wait a minute. Okay. You must love. Listen. Let me shut up. Because like their chemistry was just so. Let me shut up. Let's move on to the next question. The story about. What's your wife's name?
In the film, her name is Afeni, but her actual name is Amanda.
And she's Jamaican.
Yeah.
The story about her issue with, or you shining a light on what a lot of women go through when they immigrate, as particularly West Indian women, when they come here, get married, get a job, go into nursing. You have to do these things. You have no time for acting and things of that nature, right?
Right.
So talk to us a little bit. Why was that important to highlight in this film?
So that was directly through conversations with my wife and just things that she would tell me about her upbringing and also her family upbringing. I kind of brought that all together in the film. I expand on it more in the book, but it was important to me because it's something that I haven't really seen represented on film, and it was something that I really wanted to explore with this one.
I commend you for putting a melanated, moisturized, beautiful sister with natural hair as the lead.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was super important. Let's talk about how much did it cost to make this film?
This is about $50K.
That's it.
Yeah. Most of the locations were at my job. I work at an art center, so that's why I base everything around like the art center and all the classrooms, the stages and stuff like that is at Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning in Queens. The record store, like a lot of different people came together to make sure that like I didn't have to pay for some things. So all the money went towards the actors and the crew and everything like that. But yeah, we were able to get a lot of breaks.
What do you want to happen with this? What do you need?
I wanted to reach as many people as possible and hopefully get a return on investment.
Maybe triple or double the budget.
Hopefully.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
So we've been asking everybody about the strike and so on and so forth. Obviously, everything you do is independent. You are a novelist, so are you in the union or are you 100% independent?
Independent. Yeah.
How many people did your film employ?
Maybe 20, somewhere around there.
So you fed about 20 families through one production. I harp on that a lot, guys, because I want folks to understand that we do have the power to feed each other, to teach each other skills. We just have to stick to it and stick to making sure that we support each other. So I'm going to ask you again, and I need you to be super concise with me. What do you need? What is the end vision goal for this? How can we help you? Where do you want it to go? Meaning, okay,
Yeah.
I know you want everybody to see it. How?
Well, distribution would help, and preferably like some sort of distribution plan that isn't like predatory. So finding the right distribution plan would help, where I'm able to retain some ownership of the film.
If you're unable to do it studio-wise because of everything that's going on right now, have you considered self-distribution and community-based cooperative support?
Yes, so that's why I'm not too stressed about it, the distribution side, because I know like if I don't get distribution, I feel really comfortable with self-distributing. I work in marketing full-time, so I know like a lot of the the reason why some filmmakers might not want to self-distribute is like the legwork that you have to do to get your film out there, but I kind of feel comfortable with that. So distribution would help, but I don't think it's necessary.
I love hearing that. Well, you have an ally. I am
Thank you.
a fan of yours. I love
Thank
you.
you.
I love your wife. Like, I fell in love with this film, and I fell in love with you as a filmmaker. So make sure you tell that to your wife, not like, you know.
Okay.
maybe not.
All right.
But it's so rare to see it. It was almost like I was watching 35 millimeter, almost.
Yeah.
It felt heavy and real, and the scenery. Who was your director of photography? You?
No, my good friend Derek St. Pierre was on
He
it.
needs a goddamn award.
Yeah.
He might just get one. He might have to be like, you know what, Derek? I could gush about this forever, so I'm gonna open this up to you guys. I wanna hear from you guys what you thought of it. So please come to the microphone and tell me if you saw what, I just wanna know if you guys saw what I saw and felt what I felt watching this.
First of all, congratulations. I got a chance to see this film at your premiere in Queens a couple months ago. And just seeing it in Harlem, seeing it here, it just felt so much more beautiful. And that's just, you know, a credit to your direction and your team that you put together. My question is just, you know, you talk about Southside, being from Queens. Do you hope to tell more Southside stories, or are you looking to implore on other stories in other communities?
That's a good question, and congrats to you too for your screening, your sold out screening here. I definitely want to tell more Queens stories. I don't necessarily want to only tell that, but the next like 2 or 3 stories, the scripts that I have are specifically in Queens. I want to continue to bring a light to Queens. I think that it's a borough that you don't see a lot, like represented a lot in media and stuff like that. So similar to, I saw videos of you, and you say like, you make it your job to tell our stories because someone else will if we don't. So I definitely take that to heart, and I feel the same way for Queens that you would for Harlem.
Facts, yeah, we definitely need more Queen stories. So congratulations, bro, and I think I can speak for all of us. We look forward to seeing more films by you, bro.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Hello, I'm a fellow filmmaker, and I'm gonna kind of like give you your flowers right now, because
Thank you.
I saw a lot of the inspirations from certain filmmakers, and I want to know who, I kind of feel like I know who it is, but who was your, and sort of stylistically wise, who inspired you in terms of this film as a director?
This film was definitely Spike Lee.
Yep.
Yeah, Mo Better Blues, which you mentioned. Like I watched that movie a lot. It's one of my favorite movies, just because it just visually and the music and all of that. So I wanted to kind of take a modern take on that with this one.
And
Oh,
my bad. Also, that slap was iconic. Like
man,
that
on
was like
repeat, on repeat.
that was an iconic slap. But what I want to just say was that I liked how you were able to give a lot of character development to pretty much all the characters in the movie, like the father and the son. Everybody kind of like it all came together at the end. And as a child of West Indian heritage, particularly Jamaica, it was good to see like someone speaking in patois, but not in the corny, Americanized word. And you even did like, you had a scene when they actually talked about that and how American culture views Jamaicans as yaman, jerk chicken, weed. And so I commend you for like putting little things like that in there and giving like little character developments to everybody where it felt like it enclosed. And I'm pretty sure there was more in the novel, which is pretty dope. So thank you for this film, and it really it inspired me to tell more stories that feature Caribbean descent people and all that type of stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Before, the scene that made me gasp. Yeah, grab a mic.
I was gonna just project, if that's okay.
Okay, but I think J. Nicole is first, and then we'll come to you. One quick second. The scene that made me gasp, and I was holding my breath, is when he said, the Southside song,
Yeah.
and he went to get ready to blow, and the way the mic, the camera came up, I literally
Yeah. Oh,
did that.
Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Kofi Hunter. That's actually his song. He has a song called Riding for Big Floyd that he made in 2020. And we used that as the sound of Southside. He contributed a few songs, and that was one of them.
Oh man, Nicole.
Hi, yes, my name is
Hello.
Jay Nicole, and I just want to piggyback on what Sean said and what the other brother said, that we definitely want to see more of your work for sure. And I love the visuals and the music that, you know, that felt old school, like you said, that Spike Lee style, but the plot was giving me power. The plot was giving me power, and I kept sitting there just thinking, like each scene, I was like, oh, this is some good writing. Oh, this is some good writing. Yeah. So I just wanted to come up here and give you your flowers and just tell you how much I appreciate it. And the fact that you got an actor who could really play. Because I was sitting there thinking that too. I was like, he looked like he can really play. I was like, does he really good at faking? Or is he really up there playing? Like, yeah, so that was good too. I just wanted to give you your flowers on that. I really
Thank you.
appreciate your work, and I look forward to seeing more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I just didn't feel like getting up, if that's okay. But I wanted to ask you, how old are you? And did you go to film school? Are you a self-learner? I am a teacher, and I love seeing young black men do this, and to say this is your feature film, your second feature film. It seems like you've just really gone a long way, so I'm curious about that part of your life.
Thank you. So I'm 30 years old now, and I didn't go to film school. So I learned through trial and error, I guess you can say. My first film, April Again, I like to say that was my film school because, like, I made some mistakes, and I was able to go back to the drawing board and make something more polished like this film. And yeah, I learned editing from making basketball highlight tapes, and I always had a writing background, so everything else was just learning on the job, basically.
Congrats and thank you for your art.
Thank you.
I have two questions. The first question is, being the novelist, the writer, the director, and the editor, I'm sure that you wanted to be very detailed in incorporating all the plots and points you wanted to get across, whether it was Jamaican diaspora or if it was, the relationship between mom and son and mom and dad and drug. You had so many different points that you wanted to. How difficult was it to kind of incorporate all of that? I'm assuming that the novel had a little bit of opportunity to spread more, give more information, but how difficult as a director and the editor to kind of like push all that into an hour or so?
That's a good question. It was really difficult, first with the writing process because, like you mentioned with the novel, like a character will say like one line in this, but in the novel, that's like 2 chapters that I can spend on that. So I had trouble condensing a lot of different stories. There's a couple of characters that are condensed into one character in the film that, like in the novel, there's like 3 or 4 different characters. So the writing process was difficult to condense, and then the editing was another challenge. Once I finished the first cut of the film, I noticed that there were some things that I needed to cut down just to keep the pace going. So it's difficult wearing all of those hats because with editing, for example, you have to part ways with some things that you really like, but I was really prioritizing the story and the pace. So yeah, it was a challenge for sure.
And the second question is, I noticed it felt like there was intention in showing love and without physical intimacy. I don't know if that was very intentional or if it was like, don't touch my wife. So which,
It was.
so the question
You know what
is-
it was.
So the question is, for the sake of, I guess, the sacrifice of the shot, right? Was it intentional, as in you was trying to show love without showing too much physical intimacy? There's no kiss, there's no really hugging. The closest was a small dance. And I'm just curious to know if that was very intentional or if it was like, nah, you ain't touching my girl.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. I knew like acting wise, it would probably be like super awkward if like I'm the director like hovering over them as that would happen. So it was a little bit of don't touch my wife, but it was also like when I watch movies and films and stuff like that, when it's just too much. Yes, I usually just skip ahead of those parts. So I did that with my film.
Yeah, it is uncomfortable
Yeah.
for me too.
Hi, I just wanted to commend you. I'm a performer and a producer. We have something in common. I didn't know that you, I live in Queens. And so what was so funny was when I saw, what was it? The train station?
Yeah.
That's where I get off, there or Kew Gardens, you know, and everything. So what I loved about it was the youth in terms of the jazz and the youth. So it's interesting that you are 30, because that, you know, I was very impressed by that.
Thank you.
In terms of connecting, you know,
Yeah.
because that's what our culture is. It has to keep on going. So the fact that you are 30 and, you know, bringing back jazz, if it's just a story and a little history of what happened, thank you.
Thank you for those words. I appreciate it.
I love that this film, for me, the underscore of it was all about legacy and
Yeah.
tradition, and the sons carrying on the job and the work of their father despite whatever faults their fathers may have. They still find pride, solace, redemption, and progress in carrying on a legacy that maybe they once took for granted. And you did it so beautifully with the fathers and the sons, with even the relationship between the senator, the thug guy, because that was kind of like a father-son dynamic in a weird villainy kind of way.
Right.
And then the thug with the younger thug. It's like each generation was teaching the other generation how to keep Queens moving. And
Right.
each had their own way of doing it, and they all thought that they were right. But you touched on it so beautifully, and then incorporating the immigrant experience for us West Indians out here that also understand that underlying of tradition, taking her back to her homeland, letting us see her with her feet in the sand and that beauty, you know?
Yes.
Man, you got it, man.
Thank you. Yeah, the legacy part was definitely a big part of my writing process. That was something that I had in mind, and I wanted to basically show that it's on us, like it's on our generation to continue to tell the stories of yesteryear and keep that pushing. So, yeah.
And the fact that with everything being so hip-hop this and rappers that you took it to jazz, you took it to bebop, you took it to the origins of where it actually comes from, and that lifestyle and that culture that has now been renamed hip-hop, right? Because this culture has had many iterations of many names in the music that expresses our struggle.
Yeah.
It was called jazz, then it was called bebop, then it was blues, and country, even country music was ours, and rock and roll. So I think what you did by showing us to remember where our music comes from and to remember these traditions and to embrace them, maybe we can get back to where we once started in its purest form, which is love.
I love that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love this one. Woo! Oh, sorry. I was pontificating, girl, my bad. Please, sister, yes.
It's fine, thank you. Hi, Sir Hunt. My name is Bree Banks. I was very impressed with your film. This is my first time seeing work from you. I didn't realize you were a novelist until I was on the train coming back to Harlem earlier today, so I respect another black writer like myself, but you know, you got a whole movie, so. I thought the movie was really lovely. Quick question, how long was it?
It was an hour and 18 minutes.
All right, hour and 18 minutes. Also, I want to say, hold on, I got some other questions for you, but really quickly, I'm very curious to know, what does it feel like sitting here in the audience and hearing people react to your, you know how black people, you know how when we watch films, it's an interactive experience. So hearing people like kind of talking to the screen or laughing or clapping, like how does that make you feel as a creator watching people react to your work?
It feels really surreal. It's a little nerve-wracking at times because you hope that like the jokes hit and like you hope that people are really receiving everything that you're writing. But it's really amazing, and I'm so grateful for this platform and to be able to watch my work on this screen. I love it.
You said an hour, 18 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, hour 18 minutes. We got time for one more question.
Sure. Hey, I just want to let you know that this movie was really, it felt like a soup that just, as it just simmered, it got better and better and better. So I really have to commend you for it. It was really great.
Thank you.
Riley, Riley, I think his name was.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but every time I saw him on screen, he was like, I don't know, it gave a level of comedy to me. I don't know why. I enjoyed watching every single scene. So when you get back to him, please let him know that I really thoroughly enjoyed every scene, especially the slapping and turn.
Yeah.
Also,
Everybody loved the slap.
it gave me like Wakanda, like how it's turned and
yeah.
But my question for you is, how long did it take you to make this film?
So entire process from writing to finish and editing was like a year long, but the actual filming took about a week. We shot the film in like 7-8 days straight, and then we spent the rest of the time like editing and like trying to raise money to get sound design and all of that other stuff. So from beginning to end, it took about a year.
All right, guys. But so before we go, I want to make sure you know that when we leave here, we're going over to the Harlem Film House. Everyone is invited, of course. We're going to our main location. I'm bringing in our agents that work with independents like yourself that help get them deals. They've gotten a lot of our filmmakers onto big streaming platforms, distribution deals, checks, and all of that. So that's an option. We also have funders coming to help in a real way and to have a conversation about AI and how we're going to navigate and create tables where we can eat from and help our community eat. So I hope you come.
I will.
All right. And anyone in the audience, you are also welcome to come. We're at the WeWork on 126th Street, 3rd floor. It's 8 West 126th Street. There'll be some refreshments, cash bar, but we got some Tito's and stuff, so, you know, it is what it is. With that being said, please give this amazing young man a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we will see you guys. If we don't see you later tonight at WeWork, we hopefully will see you here tomorrow for another day, our last day of day screenings here at the Hip Hop Film Festival. Thank you guys so much.